June board meeting at 9 o'clock with a 5:30 start. So a pretty long evening tonight, but a really important evening. We had a lot of conversations that we had to address. This is our last board meeting of the 22-23 school year, so we had a lot of things to take care of. First thing we started off with was celebrating our new board members that took the oath of office tonight. They'll step on for our next board meeting in July. That was the beginning of our board meeting and swearing in each of our 4 board members who were elected in the May election. Our next item of interest was the Champion for Students Award that went to students at Bend High in the Design Justice class for their video that portrayed the importance of prescription drug use and overdosing on fentanyl, and they're ensuring to us that that's just the first of the great products they're going to have. A fantastic recognition and support of that. The second celebration we had was the recognition of Kayla Celadon for her 2 years of service as American Sign Language interpreter for our board as she's moving out of the region, and so we wanted to publicly thank her. Then we did a public hearing in which we recognized the public hearing on product specification exemptions, which, as many of you know, we have to go out for requests for proposals when we're doing purchases so that we're being good stewards of public dollars and try to find the best deal we can. Sometimes it's more efficient and actually more cost saving to go out and get the best deal and then use that as a purchase, essentially building a list of things that we can purchase so that we can be more efficient. And that hearing was open and closed, and we took action on it later in the meeting with no public input, and so that was a successful conversation. Then we opened it up for public comment, and we had several commenters. One actually wanted to talk about our use of genderless bathrooms, and that continues to be a topic of discussion for us. And then we had several commenters that wanted to talk about some staffing change recommendations that happened at Highland Elementary School. And that led to a lot of conversation for the evening, and I can talk about that more in a little bit. The board chair report was next. Chair Barnes Delakia talked about the graduations that we had 7 high school graduations in the region for our district, and how the board members shared their experiences going to those. The next thing that she talked about was getting dialed in more effectively on board governance and the board's role when it comes to bargaining with our 2 bargaining units, our classified and certified bargaining unit, and getting more specific guidance into our policy about how the board participates in those activities. And then of note, Chair Barnes Delakia did a presentation, an in-depth presentation on staffing of the district as it relates to the cost of living in the district and the possibility of potentially having a local option levy discussion for this board and our community, and consider whether or not we might like to go out and ask voters if there might be an interest in supporting an additional taxation for the operation of our schools and our school district. That was a pretty robust conversation and took a pretty substantial amount of time, and there's some interest in pursuing more conversation around that from our board. The consent agenda was passed without action, without any discussion. And then we had 2 reports tonight. The first one was our 4th quarter finance report that was delivered quite quickly by Finance Director Leah Bubeau, and very few questions for her. Then the second one was a secondary math and language arts update from Dean Richards and Michelle. I'm so sorry, Michelle, I can't remember your last name. And they presented on the work that we're doing in our secondary schools regarding our math curricula next year and our language arts curriculum next year. Then we had several action items that were of interest. The first one being Desert Sky Montessori Charter School renewal contract. They're now approved for the next 5 years. The next one was Oh, I already mentioned the product specification exemption. And then I presented on a lawsuit that we are entertaining, joining in on regarding social media companies and the impact of students' mental health on these social media companies. And we would be partnering with a local law firm, Keller Rohrbach, actually out of Portland, to potentially investigate that possibility of a lawsuit. Then we had two recommended motions that were joined together as a part of our fiscal year budget and taxation process that it essentially approves our budget and also approves the amount that we're allowed to tax to get the dollars for that budget. And that's kind of the last process of our budget process for that happened through the spring, and that was approved unanimously as well. Then we had 6 annual business resolutions that are specific to the board meeting schedule, to the use of parliamentary procedures as our tool of communication, of our tool of interacting with one another, our designation of authority that gives the district authority to be the signing representatives of the district, including things like deposits and paying people, those kinds of things. All of those resolutions were passed and approved by our board. Last action of the night was acknowledgement of service that we did, thanking Shamiko Montgomery for her 4 years of service on our board and recognition of that service, and a reminder that she's going to continue for the next 3.5 years as a Oregon State Board of Education member, and just thanking her for her service to this community. And I just would continue to talk more about the process that we discussed tonight regarding Highland Elementary School and how the transfer of folks in that school and how we're still interested in feedback from parents and are going to be reaching out to some of those parents have reached out to us to talk further. And so very strong point of conversation tonight. Took up quite a bit of our time. It's about 10 after 9. And so just want to acknowledge that and make sure people are aware that if you're interested and you want to talk with us, we're glad to have those discussions. So like I said, we're closed up around 9 o'clock for our June 20th meeting. That's it for me in this report. Thank you and have a great summer.